I'm co-host James Ash.
And I'm co-host Phil Scaife.
Welcome to the Business Lockdown. Welcome to the Business Lockdown. Guest today, Alex Hall from Bamboo, which is a scaffolding company. Huge part to play in Andy's Man Club. We've had Leon and also Paul Spence, Ben Rainey, who are passionate advocates and facilitators behind Andy's Man Club. And also Alex has recently started his own podcast, Monium, so which we're really looking forward to learning more about and the direction of that, and being a very new podcaster and giving some tips and tricks to action. I think you referred to it as homework before we press the record button, but we'll I think if we title it as healthy accountability, Alex. But welcome to the Business Lockdown. Thanks for joining us today.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, welcome to the show, Alex.
So let's go right back, Alex, before Bamboo. So we'll get on with your business journey and personal journey. But what was pre-Bamboo like for you? What was life like back then, and how long ago was that?
So Bamboo is a trading title for the business Haltech Electrical Services, which would suggest that we've had a past. So going back to 2003, I, as an electrician, set up Haltech. So we're in our 17th year. We grew that to a decent size, and we got a council contract, and we ended up rewiring 2,000 houses in Hull. Completed the contract, and the client walked out. Basically, when they completed the contract, they never renewed it. So we went from being mad busy, 50 electricians, doing all sorts of weird and wonderful projects, Great Thornton Street flats, bungalows, all over Hull, and becoming very good at it over 5 years. And then when they left, I'd done well out of it. And then I thought, well, I don't know where to put myself now. Around about this time, energy efficiency was becoming quite a big deal. So we diversified and went into the energy efficiency market, and a lot of government funding schemes were being released, such as solar PV, amongst others. So we positioned ourselves in that sector for around about 5 years, traded as Haltech Energy Partnership. We bought an office, we bought the first electric car in Hull, Nissan Leaf, and we generated a lot of sales in that sector. And then once that sector got established, the government started reducing the funding mechanisms and the initiatives. And I'm thinking, well, my business is reliant on them initiatives, because that's how I make it attractive to our clients. So at this time, though, a lot of the initiatives needed scaffolding, and I was sat on some quite healthy profit reserve. So I invested in scaffolding around about 2014. So to answer your question, electrics, boilers, solar, external wall insulation, construction, to scaffolding, and we've been doing scaffolding for around about 5 years.
So do you remember when you changed from being an electrician to being a business owner? Yes,
I actually do remember that really well. I had an advert in the Hull Daily Mail, fast and friendly it cost me, and that's how I generated all of my initial inquiries. I started with a £1,000 vehicle, which I found a picture of the other day as I was going through some old files, reminiscing. And I was still putting a light up in someone's bathroom, but at this time I had about 4 staff members, and I'm charging 40 quid to put this light up, and I'm thinking, them 4 guys probably aren't doing any work, because I'm in here putting this light up. So I thought, as soon as I've done this light, I am not doing any more of these. I'm going to be pushing, just driving around, making sure that they're meeting their targets, meeting customers, and that was at the age of 24, 14 years ago. And I've very rarely picked my tools up since then.
Yeah.
Wow.
So hence then you're able to start a scaffolding company.
2014, yeah, we started that, which was an interesting entry to the market, if you like, because by the time I started the scaffolding company, I'd done quite a lot of personal development, and a lot of the world leaders in personal development are American, so they're quite American in the advice. And the American way of doing things is a little bit like go big or go home. So to apply that to Bamboo, in our very first year of trading, we became the main sponsors of Hull FC, which we've got the shirt behind us, the Wembley winning shirt. Now, that's not normal business behaviour to go sign a major sponsorship deal in year one.
Yeah.
A bit American.
Yeah.
And off the back of that, we upset possibly a few competitors, and just like, oh, are these cats coming in, pandas, sponsorship deals, So yeah, it was quite an interesting entry to market.
Yeah, because I wanted to talk to you about that because bamboo seemed to be very quickly everywhere from not existing. Now, obviously, there's a lot of good branding behind it, but there must have been quite a strong strategy in order to do it. That doesn't happen by accident.
Well, when I was an electrician and I decided to re-diversify or reposition myself, the natural choice wasn't scaffolding, wasn't government funded stuff. The natural choice was low energy lighting. And the reason for that was my electrical mind and my engineering background. I really understood the dynamics of LED lighting. So around about 2012, I decided to go to Hong Kong Lighting Fair, which is like the biggest fair in that sector. Well, there's two. There's Frankfurt Lighting Fair in Hong Kong, and I went to both of them. So I really studied it and got to know my onions on LED lighting and the benefits of the technology. And I set up my own lighting division. I actually set up my own lighting brand of products, and I could be cheaper than anywhere because I was buying directly from the factories in the Far East. So I've got this golden ticket where I go, if I go to these business owners and say, I can get you this product at this price directly from source, and your savings on your energy bills and your maintenance savings will be a payback of 2 years, I'm thinking, everyone's going to go for this. The problem was I was a little bit ahead of the curve, and it was almost like, this can't be as good as you're saying it is. And it wasn't established in this sector, it was established globally, and it now is established here. But while I was in Hong Kong, there was scaffolding up the side of tower blocks, high-rise buildings, skyscrapers, and it was made of bamboo. And I just very loosely thought to myself, if I ever have a scaffolding company, I'd call it bamboo. me and my vision and whatever. Yeah, and a couple of years later, 2014, we set a scaffold company. So the brand was born, albeit while I was getting something else off the ground.
I love that, Alex. I mean, the very first time I saw, I think it was a Paul for Brain Recovery event that you were sponsoring and part of, and I remember seeing a big banner, and it was bamboo scaffolding, and straight away I thought, that's a nice brand for a company within an industry that don't normally do branding, and or especially quirky and very nice branding. And how was that branding process? Did you have a professional design agency behind it? Was it something you had in your mind? Did you give over that control for the brand?
Good question that, and no one's actually asked me that. I went to an event where it was help some young kids who were trying to get a job, and basically do mock interviews and stuff. And there was this young kid there, and he had glasses. He was 6 stone wet through, and he showed me this piece of computer work he'd done. I was like, "Oh, did that you?" He said, "Yeah." He basically doesn't. He just sits in all night. He's a gamer. Sits in all night doing all this stuff. I said, "Do you want to come and work for me?" So I would give him a job, and I said, "Do us a favour, come up with some brands for that." So this kid was, I think at the time he'd have been about 16. So he'd never had a job, and he's in my office, and he comes up with this brand. And me thinking, I've got a brand in a marketing brain. I'm thinking, don't ever go for the first brand if we're going to build this big. So I then went to some friends who work for a major agency. They work for nationals, and I said, I've got this brand and I like it, but I'm not going to just settle for the first thing. Tell me what you can do. And I put a budget together, and they came up with all these designs. And what we ended up doing was freshening up what he produced. So to all intents and purposes, this 16-year-old that I just met and give a job as just a bit of a lad in the office, almost like an administrator, he came up with the brand, albeit we've freshened it up a little bit, but the idea was Chris's.
Nice story.
Is he still with Bamboo? How did his journey go?
No, when we diversified, when we was an electrical business and there was a lot of job security there, when we went into the government funded world, it's a boom and bust industry. So it's like, right, this week we're doing boilers, knock on a door, give a boiler away, and get paid by the energy companies. The funding's gone. Then you're on to the next stream, solar. Then the next stream, which was external wall insulation. So a few of my staff within the business, they didn't like that uncertainty. So they were going and looking for normal sort of standard businesses, if you like. So one of the ladies got headhunted, and she came to me and she said, "I've got a job here. I'm thinking of going. My best friend offered me the job. She's a partner of the business." I said, it's a standard business. It's not as exciting as here. We're always on the move. We're always doing sort of weird and wonderful things. But that's exciting to me, but not necessarily exciting to them. So when that lady left, she took a couple of people with her, and Chris went over there. I've stayed in touch with him, and he's done some. I'm quite proud because he does great branding for them.
Yeah.
But I will say on record, it was my find, and you owe me a drink for taking him with you. It was great. Our Christmas invites, what I used to do, he did one Christmas, and it was our head office in a snow globe, and it was snowing. So if we invited you to our Christmas party, you'd open it, and it's like the Bamboo head office in a snow globe with snow coming down, and he used to come up with all this stuff, and he was a real talent, and he still is a talent. I think he went on to get a first in the degree he was pursuing. So I think I've let one slip through my fingers there, but I got the Bamboo brand out of him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do. So when you, I think when you're a business owner and you learn business and not just the trade that you do, you learn how to run a company, then you can apply those skills, be it marketing, systems, organization, strategy, whatever, to any business. And I think there's a testament to that. Am I right in saying that when you started Bamboo, you were scared of heights?
I was scared of heights. Yeah.
So you started a scaffolding company, and you were scared of heights.
Yeah, I was scared of heights. I've cured it by being bullied into abseiling down the tallest building in the whole city centre. So I'm self-cured, but yeah, I was scared of heights.
Yeah.
I was always scared of heights. I don't know why. I don't think anything happened as such. I've always been comfortable flying, but I think when I go near the edge of a building, my legs go a bit, or they used to, they don't anymore.
Yeah.
I just get a vertigo.
Yeah. Which is where we first met, wasn't it, Alex? Was where I was dressed as a big frog.
Yeah, you were dressed as a frog. We had people dressed as pandas. We had me crying on the edge of a building about to get pushed off by Paul. And I'm like, Paul, I'm generating money for your charity. This is not how it works. Like, why are you making me? Like, it's a good one, though. It's a good one because what he did was in the interview on TV, you do these little sad videos. He made me commit to it on TV or on a video that we then published. Once you've said it, you've got to do it, haven't you?
Yeah.
And to be fair, once I went off the edge of the building, and after you did it quite. You was one of the first down it. You literally jumped down it like a frog as well. You was quite comfortable with the heights, I remember.
It's funny. I remember halfway down. So, like at first, you're thinking, right, just make sure the head stays on this frog because you don't want that dropping on people. This big frog's head thing, and then as you start getting used to it, then you remember back to movies when you were a teenager, you know, with them all like scaling down the side of buildings, Mission Impossible and stuff. And so I thought, right, now I know what I'm doing. And I started like, you know, trying to bounce off the building. Just as I started to do that, I was about a third from the bottom. And I just started like, I was upside down, out of control, with like all these little kids looking at this like 7-foot frog spinning around on the side of the building. Yeah, that was a good time. That was. I've had tougher gigs for sure, but
I got a little telling off about that actually, because I don't know if you noticed there was 2 big pandas there. Well, there were actually people dressed as pandas. There's only 2 pandas in the UK, and they're in Edinburgh Zoo, and I couldn't get them, so I had to do the next best thing. So I went to Andy's Man Club with Leon. Leon asked me to go to Andy's Man Club, and I've been loads of times, and it's really beneficial. And I sat in there, and I'm thinking, there's a kid there, and he's talking, he's opening up, and he's like, I'm doing this challenge, I'm doing that challenge. He basically does whatever challenge he's put in front of him and go, I've got a challenge for you. Do you want to get dressed as a panda and abseil down the side of a building? Then there's another guy there, and he's a big fella, ex-doorman, just a big guy, and I'm thinking, first lad's quite small, the second lad's quite big. I've got Bam and Boo. Why don't I create 2 pandas, Bam and Boo, get them to abseil down, and then I can almost do the adventures of Bam and Boo. So at the end, I said in Andy's Man Club, I said, look, I'm bringing my friend down to here, Paul. We're going to do it. We've secured the ability to abseil down the building while we're working on it. If anyone wants to do it, it'll be a great challenge. Then at the end, I'm pulling these 2 guys aside, and I'm like, you don't mind? I'm creating these 2 characters, Bam and Boo. Do you fancy doing it? And then Boo went on to, he ran a 10K dressed as a panda. He had a boxing match dressed as a panda. He abseiled, and then he ended up working with us for a couple of years, and we became quite good friends off the side of it. But Leon pulled me aside and he said, look, Alex, will you just have a bit of respect? It's a man club. Some of these guys might not want you asking them to dress as pandas, climbing down the side of buildings. I said, no, they're up for it. They're up for it. I'm like, lads, are you up for it? Anyway, that's where Bam and Boo was created.
Alex, I love your stories because you clearly, I mean, straight away you've said, you know, when it comes to advertising and sponsorship, you know, you're clearly on the front foot, and I know there's lots of examples within fundraising aspects and charity organisations. And what's been the main reason behind? Has it always been about getting your brand out there, or was it kind of like for like on doing something that feels good and being involved in a number of things with your company?
The times I've done something a bit where people have said what you're doing there, it's always paid off in my. But there's been a bit of a science behind it. So, for example, the very first time, Luke Campbell, me and Luke boxed together for a lot of years, and he won the European Gold in 2008. He was the first English person to do it in 47 years, and I was doing real well at business. I was making a lot of money. And I had my business running really well because we're probably in year 4 or 5 of this 5-year contract. So it was real systemised. It was like just a sausage machine producing a lot of good stuff. So I'm thinking, now what? I'm like a bit bored. So I rang Luke, said, Luke, do the favour, come round. I said, you're doing real well with your boxing. I said, what does sponsorship look like? He said, who's helping you? He goes, well, I don't have any sponsors. He's really quite a meek kid, isn't he? He's a quiet person. And I go, right. So I said, well, I'm doing all right. I said, can I sponsor you? I said, would it help you? Do you need it? What's your circumstances? He goes, oh, well, I get lottery funding. And he said, I've not been beat in 22 international contests. I'm looking really good for the Olympics, but I've got a win at the World Championships in, I think it was Kazakhstan. It was Baku. And that's such and such a date. He said, I'm off to Turkey tomorrow, and I'll probably win the gold there, because as I said, I've not been beat for 22 fights. So I goes, all right. So I said, tell you what, here's my budget per month. And I said, the Olympics are in 2 years. I said, I'll give you that per month till the day the Olympics finishes, and I'll give you it whether you qualify or you don't qualify. So I don't want added pressure. If you don't qualify, I'll still give you it till the day they finish. I said, would that help you? And he says, yeah. He was like, yeah, that'd be really helpful. Thank you. He goes to Turkey the next day. Guess what? He gets beat. Right? He got beat by the Turkish kid in the quarterfinals. He got ripped off. The Turkish kid in Turkey won. Bearing in mind, they all feed into an Olympic qualifier. So I'm thinking, I've just signed this kid and given him a sponsorship deal. Now the relevance of that a little bit is when you get beat, your funding goes down. So his funding got cut a little bit. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but basically your funding goes down because you lose points and you lose rankings. But luckily, he'd just secured this other pot of money for a couple of years. Now, I don't know how relevant that was to him, but at the time, he wasn't working. He was a full-time athlete, so it all helps, doesn't it? Now, me and Luke became even better friends off the back of that journey, because every time he's fighting, I'm watching it. And then then all of a sudden, he qualified for the Olympics. So he won the silver in Baku. So we threw a party at the curry house on the corner of Colton Street. Was it Bombay Duck? We threw a party there for him. Me and Lindsay, his missus. And then I started getting my marketing head on. I've got the first ever Olympic. He's becoming quite a big face. So what I did was I built a big poster on the side of the A63. It was in the old Daily Mail, and what it was Lou punching out. Like that was the angle. It was like a famous Muhammad Ali one. And what it said on the end of his glove was Haltech Eco Lighting, and that was my first sort of real cool branding, because it was right on the side of the motorway. The company that I paid to do the signs, they owned the land. So I was like, you've got an order if I can use your land. I've got Luke Campbell with Haltech on his gloves. And that was me thinking, that was quite cool. And then you get the bug for it. But what you moreover get the bug for is helping a local kid. I then get to go to all the fights, and I've followed his career ever since. So in terms of sponsorship and then tying the branding in, that's how it came about originally. And then obviously since then we've done bigger and probably more high-profile deals, which have had the benefits.
That is an awesome story. Also, and I do know, I remember seeing a photograph of you. I remember seeing the photo of Bamboo, and I thought, and I was straight away was like the good branding, and that's very different. And then I think I remember looking at you on Facebook, and we've got a similar circles of friends. And I think I don't know if it was your profile picture at the time at a Tony Robbins event. Is that right?
Yeah, Vince, yeah.
Yeah, so just give us what year did you go to that, and what were your reasons why? Were you in a position of self-discovery, or were you you knew you had a real clear goal and you almost wanted that to be just reinforce that you're on the right track. What was your approach going to that event, and then how did that event change how you worked your business?
I'd probably say 2015 was the craziest year of my life in retrospect, because what happened was, so I set up a business about 21, got my head around the business and did very well. By the age of 28, I was starting a lot of money, and then I reinvested it, and wherever I put my focus and my attention, it sort of came to fruition. So I went into the low energy sector, made quite a bit more money. Another sector, made quite a bit more money. And then 2015 come, and I'm thinking, everything I sort of focus on, so if I give it clear, direct focus, it works. I then made the cardinal sin, which a lot of entrepreneurs make, shiny object syndrome. I started a scaffold company in December 2014. So that's sort of that sets up 2015 nicely. I had my energy company, Haltech Energy Partnership, running really sweet. But what happened was I was paying a mentor, and that's one of the pieces of advice I'd give: have mentors, pay for them. And this guy, who was towards the end of his career, was looking at retirement, and he said, all your money is in government funded. I said, look, this scheme is called PAS 2030. It's going to go on till 2030. That's what 2030 represented. I said, it's signed off in Parliament. He said, be careful, Alex. He said, change your government. So I had them words ringing in my ear. So I set up the scaffold company off the back of that, thinking I need to have multiple streams of income. But I sort of took that to the next level, and I started investing in other bits and bats. Anyway, May comes, and prior to May, I'm investing in a lot of personal development. So I went to Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within in the April. Leon came to that with us. I took a few staff members. I went to a couple of other things. I went to the Jordan Belfort 3-day boot camp. That was quite an interesting one. But anyway, May comes, and the very first thing that happens, the government change, and the very first thing they pull is my funding stream. The very first thing. So luckily, I diversified, and I had other things moving. But anyone that had all their eggs in that basket were out of business, literally overnight.
Wow, overnight.
Yeah. So, but during that period, I'd been on this sort of personal development journey. But middle of the year, I was supposed to be working alongside my partner at the time in the scaffolding. Said, look, we'll get this running. I'll show you how it's done. It'll take a year to 2 years to get you fully up to speed. 6 months into that project, my main income stream had the rug pulled from under it. So I had to get over there, and because I literally all the business was drying up, all the funding was gone. But during this period, up until that period, because I had my management team in place, I had everyone running it well, I was off here, there, and everywhere doing personal development. And Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within was the first course I went to. I then went to Business Mastery with Tony Robbins, which is Unleash the Power is like an 8,000 people event. Business Mastery is a 150 people event. Now the ticket price is a lot higher because it's a lot more intimate. But I went on that, and I took one of my guys who worked for us, and again, Leon came on that, me, Leon, and one other. So we went to that one. We went to Brian Tracy, a one-day event there. Went to another one called a Millionaire Mind Intensive. I've done a lot of personal development over the last five years or so. But then going back to 2015, it was just a year where I got so many things up and running. I set up 4 businesses. I then won a couple of awards, which other companies entered me for. MKM entered me for one. Hull Daily Mail rang me and said, you need to enter this award for a building that I'd invested in. And then I went for the Entrepreneur of the Year. I went for the hat trick, and I personally won all 3 awards, which on the face of it is great. But then all of a sudden, even more people wanted to do business with me. Now I'm in this zone saying yes to everything. And then all of a sudden I'm thinking, right. And then I signed a sponsorship deal with Hull FC. Then I decided to get divorced. So I've got divorces, sponsorship deals, business 1, business 2, business 3. I've still got my personal development journey. So yeah, 2015. I opened up an academy as well in 2015, which got knocked down to be, it used to be the old body factory on Roper Street. So we opened up an academy, and then what happened was the landlord sold the academy, unbeknown to me, on a compulsory purchase, let himself into it, said, you've done all of this work, spent 80 grand on this academy, and you didn't get clarification, so I'm kicking you out. I'm like, I've just improved your building no end. I've got it for 5 years, and you're kicking me out. It was kicking me out because it just sold it to the council from under my feet after I'd spent 80 grand on it. So you can, and all of this is 2015, and that was quite a big deal. Opening that academy, we had MPs there, we had Luke Campbell there, we had a supplier fly in from Poland on a private jet to launch the academy and launch the products. all of this all happened in 2015, and I've covered it in like 2 minutes, but it's probably 3 or 4 podcasts there on their own just that one year.
So what happened?
Wow.
What happened next with that chaos then? It sounds like that's pretty full on, and there's a lot of balls up in the air. That was unsustainable. Is that what happened next?
So what happened next was, so in the middle of 2015, the government said, we have decided this funding is a flawed concept and it's not a good use of taxpayers' money. So whatever funding you've got, you can have, and then there is no more. So I had 6 months worth of funding, literally 6 months, because every voucher you secured had a 6-month expiry date. So I had absolutely loads of work up until the 1st of January 2017, and then I had 0 work. So I had 6 months to get my head around. I've got a workforce of 40 men. I've got a new scaffold business started. I had a new energy business, which I just started. I'd had this academy, what I'd just launched. And I'm thinking, but my main business, the Golden Goose, I've got 6 months to do something with it. So what I did was I identified the properties on Princes Avenue opposite Luca. There's 5 big houses. I went to some investors and I said, look, I have a workforce which are very capable. They're used to working together. They're used to being managed by my organisation, and they come available on the 1st of January next year. If you give me the money, buy that, I'll refurbish it. I'll transfer it from what it is today into 48 ensuite rooms, and I'll turn it into an asset. It's currently a liability because it's fallen apart. It was former student accommodation. So we did this deal, and then I pulled that business in. And so that was another business we launched. Excuse me. So that bought me about a year. I then went and won another project in the city centre, which was Essex House. That got transferred. So what I did was I replaced what I built as quite a lucrative sector, repositioned my business to go into not such a lucrative sector, construction, quite low margins if you're the main contractor. And I managed to secure 2 years' work for my workforce there. The challenge being, it wasn't it wasn't my strength. Everything else I'd built, I'd got my head around it from the ground up. These 2 projects were secured out of necessity. Otherwise, I had no business, apart from the ones I was building. But they were in their infancy, so they were of the size I needed to maintain. Now, what I could have done in hindsight was just said, right, lads, you've got till December, then you're out of work. What would have probably happened is they'd have gone and looked for other jobs, they'd have left, I'd have lost the ability to deliver that funding. So it was quite a challenge.
So that's 2017 and 18. So what's different now? What's it look like today? Well, before the crisis that we're in for different reasons.
Well, at the moment it's just scaffolding. So basically, I got a little bit too excited, got my fingers in too many pies, delivered every project I committed to. And then I just said, once these are committed, I'm just going to focus on one income stream and get that to make a lot more money, because by this point, I'd always had one income stream for the first 10, 12 years of my career. It had only been a period of maybe 3 or 4 years where I'd had multiple. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, and I'll quote somebody, you can either have 50 grand in your hand and have no time to spend it, or you can have 5 grand in your hand and have lots of time to spend it. What's better? So what I've done is I've just gone to one income stream, and it is Bamboo, and it still gives me the ability to express myself for marketing and stuff like that if and when I want to. But the clients we've got at the moment, they're giving us what we need. We've not really tried marketing Bamboo for about 18 months because we secured a lot of work in quite a short time frame, and we've been delivering them contracts ever since. And there's also a sweet spot where if you operate at, say, X turnover, to grow to Y turnover, you've got to invest so much more in your infrastructure. Unless you're going to go way above Y, it's not worth it, in my experience.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, I know we had what was going to be a 10-minute chat on the other day. So, I mean, anybody out there, including yourself, who started up with podcasts, our system, we always make sure we speak to the guest a few days before for about 10 minutes, and that's really to instill confidence, to make sure that the platform is right for both parties as well. Because what you don't want to do is get into a system that you get people on just because they say yes, because actually the power, we talk about this, the power of the podcast is that everybody says yes. is pretty much guaranteed that, that is pretty much everybody says yes. So having that chat before, just to ensure that the channel's right for both parties and to instill confidence, because you don't know if people are nervous or they need to be too scripted, and get an understanding that it's unedited and we just have a conversation. And I think we were 14 minutes shy of a 3-hour conversation. Alex walked around the park twice. He went on 2 park walks during our video conversation. And so that was, but what I did say is, we'll touch on current times, under this pandemic. And you did touch on having your own internal pandemic over the past year, and there's been some issues along the way, hasn't there? And I don't know if you're happy touching on stuff like that. There's been some tough times in the past year, and moving to current day where you've actually really taken this time. You're a new dad, so you've got a very new dad there. First child, if I'm right in thinking.
Yeah, first child.
Yeah, so you've got all of this time now at home, and you've really got like glass half full mentality right now. So do you want to give us some indication on how that's looked the past year?
Yeah, so last year, beginning of last year, I entered the year with I started a new relationship. So going back to this crazy time, I didn't really have time to dedicate myself to a relationship and having a family, because it was just a bit chaotic, to say the least. Once we settled it and we got Bamboo working well, I ventured out and got back on the dating scene. Got a lovely lady in my life called Megan. We started trying for a baby, but while this was going on, my business partner decided that he wanted to do things his way, set up a scaffold company, effectively in competition, but not really, because the truth of the matter is that if he left, I didn't have the capacity to look after his customers anyway. So took some customers with him, but the challenge was the nature of the sector we work in. It's contracting. Lads don't give you a week's notice or 2 weeks' notice. They just basically say, I've got a new job, it starts Monday. So a lot of my workforce were leaving on a Friday, and it was like every week I'm expecting who's going to leave this week. And what it was, gentleman who left had set up, and as he was winning more work, he needed more men. Well, the men in Bamboo, he'd brought them in originally, so there was always probably going to go sign for him. If you look at it like a football team, Steve Bruce tends to take players around with him, doesn't he? That he's had over the years, like Al Mohammadi, for example. So basically, last year was a bit of a challenging year, and I must admit that the business at times was running me, and I wasn't running the business. When the beginning of this year came, we'd sorted a lot of stuff out, we'd got the right team on board, and I just said, I'm going to run the business this year. What do I want to do? So a bit starting at the year, I was thinking, I want to do a podcast. I want to call it Pandemonium, and what it was actually going to be about was approaching people, anyone who's been in business a long time or a period of time, 2, 3, 4 years or more, they were going to have gone through challenges, and they were trying to approach business people that I know and say, look, you must have gone through some challenges, and hopefully they're that far away that you can talk about them in hindsight with a smile on your face, i.e. it wasn't last week or it wasn't last year. And if so, will you talk about them on air, just like I'm sort of doing, and can anyone learn from that journey? And that's what my podcast was going to be about. Challenge is, can you approach people and go, do you want to get some skeletons out of your closet on air? I think the irony of it is now you could probably go to any business and go, you must have some things you want to get off your chest on. Do you want to do it on air? And it's more a case of, I fancy catching that. James Ash looks cool. I've never really spoke to him, but I've seen him run down the side of a building dressed as a frog, and he's doing his podcast. Good to have a chat with him and find out what he's doing. And that chat turned into 3 hours, and we'll go, how much of this is actually useful content that we could put out there? The benefit of this chat, and that's all it is, and it's just sharing ideas, and it's effectively personal development.
Yeah.
How many episodes? Is it 2 episodes you've recorded?
We've done 2, but one of them were not airing. One was a practice one, just to see how it was like the first time I'd used Zoom, and then one was the first sort of proper one I went for, and that was the father of the guy who we've just been doing some charity work for a young boy called Rue, and it was Rue's father. And I released that last week, just to go through the process of using the app, using the software, releasing it, and that's it. So there's only actually one gone out so far.
And what have you learned? What have you learned by doing the one, by actually doing it and going for it?
I've learned that get a better internet signal, because it drops out a couple of times. Better recording equipment, Just probably refine. Just like anything, practice makes perfect. I'm one of them people that I'll just do something and go, that wasn't great, but get it out there, next one. Get it out there, next one. Now, probably the challenge with a podcast, like a restaurant is, you've got to get it close to right the first time, otherwise your guests aren't going to come back and try your food. But on the same note, it's not really a business venture. It's just a personal development club. I know loads of people, and I want to ask them things. And I go, I want to ask that person, what happened there? Look, do you fancy a chat? We'll put it out there. We'll talk about this situation. And if you're happy with the content, let's put it out there. Let's go for it. And that's what I want to do. I want to just catch up with loads of people in the area. I want to catch up with you. I want to ring you and go, how was your podcast going? What have you learned? But why don't we film that content and make it valuable to the public? And why don't we put it on Pandemonium and put it on the business lockdown?
Indeed, we've covered this with a number of guests now. We created the business lockdown when COVID hit. We looked right. What's important right now? What's the ultimate thing that we can do to be positive? And we have a marketing agency there and a great team. And we were just like, right, well, why don't we put those resources behind something that can benefit as many people as possible for the right reasons? And it was just like we'd been procrastinating for a year, looking at different equipment, trying different equipment. What is the subject? How are we going to do it? How many times are we going to put it out a week and all of that? And COVID-19 came, we were just like, we're just going to do it now. We're just going to do it. And even Phil at that point was like, right, what we'll do then is once we've got the guests lined up, we'll do some research and we'll delve in. And I was just like, no, because that's another pain point, a point of friction that probably means we won't do it. So it's like, no, we're just going to crack on. And so we started. And I think we actually started to do some between us. And then I was like, there's something right. There's a bit of crackling with the audio. I think we should do it in this way. And then from that moment on, I mean, yeah, we've connected with more than 40 people now around the world to a global audience, to the point where I think our second episode within the first hour was viewed by 400 people around the world. And that was day two, first hour of it launching. And you're like, right, there's something here. And now the conversations we're having and just helping people who have started up podcasts, like yourself, Alex, we'd love to. I mean, we'll commit now. I mean, let's take 2 of your episodes and do what we do as a team, so we can go across different platforms, reach a greater audience, to do all the things that you can imagine doing. So we can certainly.
I believe in standing on the shoulders of giants, and you're quite a tall fella, so you'll do. Like,
I don't think.
Yeah. So you're doing it. You're ahead of me. But ultimately, if you think about life, the 2 most important things in life is number 1 thinking and number 2 talking. Really, because if you don't think or talk, you're not gonna progress anything. And that's all a podcast is, isn't it? And there's a lot of podcasts out there. Let's not get real precious on the content. Let's just get talking. Let's get thinking. Let's get talking. Let's get sharing ideas. And some podcasts will be more interesting than others. But it's the way things are done now. And I'd love to work with you guys. I like meeting new people. And at the moment, this is the way you meet new people. The guest on my first podcast, I've never met that gentleman. He doesn't know. He knows me now and I know him now. But we've just had 40 people running for his son for the full month of May. We've done about 4,000 kilometres amongst us, and it's just nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's just using all the resources what we have, Zoom, all these apps, and just talking and thinking and talking and thinking, and we're putting it out there. Once you put it out there, it happens, doesn't it? Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, based on that, we might have to advise to take that Newcastle shirt down, though. If that was going to be, I just think if we were trying to reach a greater audience, we might have to be selective on what.
The next key to life is have a solution for every problem. So the desk I'm on right now is on wheels. So would you like? Are you a Joe Calzaghe fan or a Mike Tyson fan?
Yeah, I like Calzaghe. Certainly Tyson as well. There we go.
Got Calzaghe and Tyson there, or if you prefer Ricky Hatton and Evander Holyfield.
This is what they call mobile content.
This is it. We're catering for audiences.
Let's talk a minute about contribution, because obviously you've reached a stage now where you're talking about what you did. Was it the month of May? Was it 100k in May?
Yes.
And I believe that's only one of many things that you're contributing back. You're serving other people.
Yes. Yeah. So as I said last year, the business was running me. I wasn't running the business. Just victim of circumstance. Last year's behind us. We've steadied the ship. I've come into this year and I go, right, what do I want to do? Got a good management team in place. So it started earlier in the year when my old boxing coach, Mike Bromby, said, Alex, I need a hand. We've got a big refurb going on. It's all new to me. I've been training in this gym for 30 odd years. I said, Mike, I'll come and see you. What do you need? We ended up relocating the boxing ring and all the bags and everything. And we actually set up St. Paul's at our yard. So then we started saying, well, that was nice. Mike feels better. He felt like he was supported. But we've got this legendary ring where Luke Campbell, Tommy Coyle, Prince of Team Ahmed fought, Ricky Hatton's fought in the yard. Let's do a bit of training, a bit of pads. So it was almost like a bit of charity or a bit of giving back and a bit of training. So then the next one was the COVID hit, and I'm sat in my office, the back cave I call it, where I'm sat now, and I'm watching the TV, and someone in London is basically opened his restaurant, and all he's doing is feeding NHS staff. So I just go on Facebook, looks like within 5 minutes I'm thinking of teaming up with a couple of local takeaways to get food to feed the heroes, as I called it. Someone just messages me, I'll give you 100 quid. So I put 100 quid in, he put 100 quid in. With that, I did a Just Giving page, a few contacts. We went up to 2 grand within a few days. And all I was doing, I was linking with local businesses, whole businesses, and I was putting a budget of 80 quid. And if I spent 80, they give me £100 worth of food. So I was dropping £100 off every night and it wasn't necessarily COVID, because I'd had a son, I wanted to go say thank you to the maternity ward at Hull. 100 quid worth of food one Sunday, and I was just doing that every night, and that was in April. Then May come, and my friend said, there's a baby Roo, he's had a real hard start to life, he's had 50 hours on the operating table to work on a brain tumour. Can you share these events we're doing? They was doing some bike rides and what have you. So I said, I'll do better than that. I said, I'll run 100k in May, because I'd been invited to do that by somebody else. So I said to my mate, why don't we invite a few more people, call it 100k in May, then before you know it, you've got 40 people doing it. With that charity has raised £20,000 amongst all of the events which are going. So June comes, I go to another charity, say, look, you've helped us with 100k in May, you've got a charity, Paul for Brain Recovery, shall we do another event? And then we're all already thinking about July, and the idea is, we're all benefiting from it because we're getting fitter, stronger, we're all bouncing off each other, we've all got a bit of accountability. I'm compiling the stats and I'm posting them, and I'm doing little emojis if people are... If you're behind target for the month, if 20% of the month's gone and you've only done 15% of the target, you're getting a little emoji with a angry face or whatever. And we're just all pushing each other. But really, what are we doing? We're getting out of the house, we're exercising, we're raising awareness to some good causes, and we're all just sort of bouncing off each other. And it just feels good. And these are the sort of things. Business is good, and I think in your 20s, it's all about chasing the money and proving yourself. But once you've proven yourself over time, you want to step back and go, right, I need to be doing a bit of giving back. We need to be obviously keeping busy, and it's just having a balanced approach to what you do.
Yeah. So tell me about the June challenge that you're on with. That's for Paul, right?
So the June challenge, it's an open invite as the win. Yeah. So what we've done is I was effectively the team captain for 100k in May. I've gone for a room with Paul and I've said, right, what we're doing now. We actually discussed July. We're going to do either 400k or 400 miles on a bike ride in July. But we might do both. We might say, look, a tough one is 400k. But if you're quite good and you're fit already, you might want to go for 400 miles. So it's 400 in July. What we've done is in June, we've just said, let's carry on with the 100k in May. But as well as that, the 100k can be spread to suit yourself. So you might do 10k runs times 4 a week or whatever, or you might do a bit every day. What we've added to it this time is every single day, 25 burpees, 25 press-ups, 25 sit-ups, 25 squats, no chocolate, and 100k. You're allowed to replace chocolate with crisps. Somebody's caveated it. if you're addicted to crisps, it's no crisps. If you're addicted to chocolate, it's no chocolate. But basically, just taking it up a notch. Are you getting on board or what, lads?
Yeah.
Well, before we get to that, I've got a few more questions. So we'll come if we can come back to that.
James is going to find some more caveats. It's exactly what I need. I've got what I'm terming isolation insulation going on.
Yeah. Hey, and it's this COVID. It's more dangerous if you're a little bit out of shape. It's a bit more dangerous. So we're saving lives.
It was
saving lives. Well, do you know, there's no greater sign, because I made a commitment yesterday to digital detox and hit the beach and get some sunshine, which is the first day's commitment since the 16th of January. But what I think what's also been clear off the back of that is that, you know, I had a personal trainer for 3.5 months before COVID hit. I was like a machine, really healthy, all down pod. Let's say things have slipped a little bit since, and there's no better indication. I'm not going to show you right now, but I've been incredibly sunburnt. You probably see the redness here. But I've got white lines, thin white lines. Do you know where I've been sat down and there's the insulation has just gone over so much. So I never used to. I've never had white lines from insulation. Yeah. So that's maybe I don't think we have
what we call a British zebra.
Yeah.
Indeed, but yeah, let's get on board. Yeah, show us. I mean, how can people get on board with this, Alex?
Well, in 100k in May, and just to be clear, although everyone has completed the challenge, there's been plenty of people having a beer at the end of the night and then posting a picture of them with a Heineken. So they might have done 8k during the day and they're topping up with a beer. And I was thinking, we're drinking beer and we're running. It felt a bit like an alcoholics running club at one point, but it's a challenge. But what my point is, it's not really serious. It's obviously free. It's a case of WhatsApp me. I'll give you my number. And people are in it I've never met. And I made everybody an admin. And I just said, if you want to add anyone, add them in. So then so-and-so's girlfriend came in and so-and-so's daughter. We had 10-year-olds doing it. Some people were doing it on bikes. Some people were doing it running. Some people were just walking because they're carrying injuries. And then that was it. It's just a case of, I've set the group up, everyone's an admin, invite who you want. And then what happened was, halfway through the month, people wanted to do it, so we called it 50 in 15. So we almost had maybe 10 more people came in midway. And then all we're going to do is, and obviously if it's midway through the month, just get started, just get on the wagon. It's not real serious, it's not competitive. I won't say there's no professionals in there, because there's actually a couple of Ironmen who did it. But by far from it, the majority of us aren't competent runners, but everyone has really buzzed off it, and everyone deserves a pat on the back, because if you're not used to running and you go from 0 to 100k in a month, it is a big step up, and it is impressive.
And do you see this being, at the moment it's a WhatsApp group, do you see there's every opportunity here to somehow link in your podcast channel and then have whether that's a social media platform for this, or even then a website that links in your socials? You know, can you see that happening?
Yes,
you're clearly onto something, right?
Yeah, definitely. So the Pandemonium as a platform is effectively a Facebook page, and all I was going to do was put, as I'm running, I'm checking my Spotify for songs that I like, and I'm thinking, that's a good song, that. Excuse me. I'm just going to post that song in the group that day. Feel good song. Or I might listen to a personal development video, post it in that day. And then what I'd like to happen is, lads, instead of all WhatsApping and no one can see it unless you're in the group, just post it on Pandemonium. Post it. It's just a bucket for good stuff. And there's no like exact science. It's called Pandemonium. So it's like, obviously it's relevant. Don't just put anything in there. It's all positive. It's let's get in shape. Let's support Rue. We're called the Rue Army. Let's support Paul for Brain. Let's support the business lockdown. Oh, I've just watched a good podcast. I'm putting the podcast in. That's a real good track, that. Dire Straits, Walk of Life. Get it in there. Alive, Empire of the Sun. Get it in there. Just one a day. Like what you guys are doing. You're doing these posts. Where would you go in a time machine? I wasn't thinking that till I saw that. I'm thinking, I like Thailand, but imagine Thailand 50 years ago. How cool would it have been when they didn't really know what an Englishman looked like?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. I was liking that, and then it took me. I started thinking, "Oh yeah, what would that be like?" And because you're just wondering what, and it wasn't just about visually, but feeling how that feels. Because I know I think we were close. We were about 2 hours 2 hours 43 minutes, and we're getting on like a house on fire when we had our extended 10-minute phone call, and then Alex throws in there. He's just like, my favourite country is Thailand. I was just like, oh God.
At the end,
And we're like, when it was, it's like, and it was, you know, when you don't think you can like someone more, and then you throw in that one, and we tapped into it a little bit, didn't we, in terms of Thailand?
yeah,
And
that was right at the end. But was that the longest 10-minute phone call you've ever had pre-podcast?
well, do you know, I thought about this, and I thought, well, not only is it the longest pre-episode call by about, what was we were 2 hours 46 minutes, so I would suggest, I think it's about 2 hours 30 minutes longer than the next one. And then I thought, actually, when have I had a longer 10-minute with anyone? And I was just like, so you're definitely top three, mate. Definitely top three in the history of 10-minute phone calls. For sure.
Number one, so we need another 10-minute chat. But another funny story. I've built an office adjacent to my house. I've called it the Bat Cave. It is a Bat Cave because you wouldn't know it was there unless you was brought to it. And when you're brought to it, you've got a blindfold on, so you still don't know it's there. And then, like, I get you in, right? No, I aren't allowed access to any of my workers because I talk too much to them. So when they come in and they go, "What's going on?" I get chatting. So I'm actually banned from talking to anyone in the business. I live on my own or work on my own in the Bat Cave. And then when people like yourself get in touch, you know what happens. So I'm aware of this as part of my makeup, and I extracted myself from the situation.
I love it. Well, before Rob, and there's a risk here because when we started, I said, I've been picking up on something recently, and it's out there a lot, and so I want to drop it in, but we do run the risk we could talk for 5 hours on this subject, I'm sure. So if we cover it quickly, there's a lot been. I mean, the Chicago Bulls documentary that's been released recently called The Last Dance, and that sparked off a lot because there's always been the debate. The debate is Michael Jordan the best basketball player ever, and LeBron James, of course, is hot on the heels in terms of stats and his impact into the game, his longevity, and obviously Kobe Bryant recently lost his life, unfortunately. So, and that all came up, and there's been a lot of articles out there about GOATs, greatest of all times. And clearly boxing. Let's start with boxing quickly. And I mean, we could go into 5 hours, but best boxer in history and why?
In terms of just all-round package and watch him all day long and what he achieved and what he stood for, Muhammad Ali. I'm looking at my Lomachenko-Campbell thing, and that Lomachenko is something different because he was born in the ring. And you look at his statistics. He's going to be something amazing. I've seen Mayweather twice, but Ali is the answer to the question.
Like that, Phil?
What, on boxing? Because that is not my. Does Rocky count? It's not my chosen specialist subject. That obviously Muhammad Ali across not just boxing, across sport in general, is going to take some beating.
Rocky doesn't count because Rocky was based on Chuck Wepner, who was beaten by Muhammad Ali. So.
Yeah, I know I was punching above my weight even trying to answer that question.
I mean, I love Tyson. And I think it was such a shame that his coaching didn't continue through beyond those. Who was his elderly coach?
Mata.
Yes, yeah, because Mata was. It was such a shame that didn't continue through because he was such a father figure to him. And I mean, when you look at Tyson in those years, he was 20. Youngest heavyweight champion ever.
When he won it, 20.
And that was the thing, that kind of period where he was just, I don't think I've ever seen anyone like him. Unfortunately, life, and we know more about what kind of life got in the way with him. Certainly got in the way for those later years. He wasn't at his prime with Lewis, was he? But football, let's go and switch quickly to football. Greatest of all time. Phil?
Gordon Banks.
Gordon Banks?
Yeah, Gordon Banks. He was not the build of a goalkeeper. He was just like the world's best for his era.
The goalkeeper.
Yeah, interesting.
Pardon?
Yeah, he could only see out of one eye. Is that correct? I believe so.
I mean, that is just, if that's true, he's just elevated even higher for me.
I believe so.
I think you're right. I think he was had eyesight problems. But what about the other guy, Troutman, with his broken back as well? You know, in the FA Cup final.
Yeah. He was some boy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Who was playing for James?
For me, best footballer I've ever seen as well. I've seen Messi and I've seen Ronaldo. I saw Messi score at the new camp about a year ago, and I saw Ronaldo a number of times. I was being a Middlesbrough fan and season ticket holder, and I just think you know, a lot of people are swaying towards Messi being the best of all time, and certainly the better between those two. But I just think Ronaldo is the best thing ever. I just think physically, you can look at Pele's, but the game was different then, and the nutrition and the training. My mate Duncan O'Connor, who was Hull KR's ex-physio, and he lost out to the Man U physio job. There was a year, and he went for it, and it was the guy had more football experience than Duncan. And Duncan went to the training facilities, and he saw them, and Vidic and Ronaldo were in the gym, and he said they were arriving before everybody else and doing more than everybody else, and staying behind compared to everybody else. And he was just like, you wouldn't believe the weights and the strength kind of conditioning that those two were doing, particularly Ronaldo. And he said at that time, Ronaldo's team, they were setting him up to be the best player ever. And everything, every inch, every little aspect of everything he did, every second of the day was to be the best footballer ever. I mean, and there was no budge from that. I just think he's absolutely phenomenal athlete. I mean, you look at Messi's been great, but he had Iniesta and Xavi, whereas Ronaldo could take a team on his own, whereas I don't think Messi's had that capability in the same way.
Okay, I'm just going to plug my laptop in 1 second.
Oh, is he going to bring up some stats now? Is this going to be Stato?
No, I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions then. So, if a team that was going for relegation and had never won the title in the top division signed a player, and then within a couple of years they won the top division, and then they won it again, would that be impressive? So they're going for relegation. So Hull City signed one player, Ronaldo, because Hull City were never going to win the Premier League, were they? There was always going to be towards the bottom, let's say. Mid to bottom was apart from when we got to Europe through the FA Cup, but we even then was mid-table, weren't we? So that's what's happened in this example, and the same player then won the World Cup for his country. Have you not seen the documentary?
Who is it? Is it with Napoli? Is it when he was at Napoli?
Yeah, Maradona. If you watch that doc, right? Because obviously it's a little bit before our era. We knew who he was and the hand of God and all the rest of it. But Napoli were going for relegation, and he only signed for them because he didn't get on with Barcelona. It was obviously very hard to manage. But that's what, if you look at his story, what he achieved, and you think, they all talk about the World Cup. So it is the equivalent of Ronaldo taking Portugal to the World Cup. If you're going to go, well, it's not apples for apples, it probably is. What he did with Napoli would have been the equivalent of Ronaldo winning the World Cup with Portugal. And he got them so far, and that free kick he scored when he got in the zone was unbelievable. State management. But for me, the answer is Maradona. Because I've watched that documentary.
Well, and it would be, it's a hard one to disagree. It's harder to disagree with that than someone saying Pele, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There was speaking of the hand of God, there was an amazing social media post about a week ago. I don't know if I sent it to Phil, and it was Peter Shilton, and he was getting I don't know if he was getting an award from the Queen or something like that, or he was at an events party, and he was with his wife, and you think, but yeah, he's done good for himself. That beautiful blonde woman. And Peter Shilton, he was a good goalkeeper, but he wasn't to be one of the striking force when it came to as you think, to winning the ladies. And you thought, and it was a post, and he was celebrating his beautiful wife. And somebody's post was, it was a shame you weren't punching that high when Maradona scored that goal in the World Cup against you. It's like, sweet. Well, and basketball then. Let's finish off with basketball.
Yeah. Who are you asking first?
I'll go with you, Alex.
I watched The Last Dance, and Michael Jordan, the worst possible thing you can do to Michael Jordan is rattle his cage, because then that is game over, is it? Did you see that? And it's because of his journey with his older brother, and his older brother getting favouritism through his dad. He just had it in his psychology. But Michael Jordan, when you watch it, he was the greatest of all time. I only watched it last weekend, and I watched it over a couple of days, binge watched it, and I looked at the MVP. He's had it more times than anybody. You look at what he's done with Chicago Bulls. You look at he left and he came back. But what I like, what you can take from that is, he used to give his players a lot of crap, his teammates. I believe to be successful, you've got to be prepared to rattle a few cages. Like, being Mr. Nice Guy all the way. Now, everyone wants to be liked and nice in business, and I've got a good circle of friends, and I can be a nice guy. But if I'm really honest, you've got to rattle cages. He rattled cages. He wanted to be the best. And to be the best, he used to give his teammates some stick, didn't he? But they used to rise to the challenge to say, F you, MJ, I'll prove you wrong. And that's what he was doing. So, I mean, I'm not a massive basketball fan, but from watching that documentary, then doing my study on the MVP, the success of Chicago Bulls, the fact he came back, changed his body and his whole psychology of his body for baseball, then came back and then got back into it and started winning again and got MVP again. Who can compete with that?
Yeah, he just decided to be a pro baseball player, and off he went. And he's like he's at pro level for golf as well.
Yeah,
I remember seeing some things in it. Remember seeing one. There was a documentary on him that I had in the 90s on him and watching him, and he took this shot and it just went in like a jump shot into the golf hole like that, just in poof. As he's playing, he's just like.
Are you MJ as well?
Yeah, easily. Yeah, well, I played in the Hull leagues and Beverley, and I was big into basketball, and that was like the era, and it's just different class. It's more like it's in that documentary where his demands on his players is like, you're in this team and you've got a job to do, so do your job. You know, if you're there, I expect you to be there and do your job, and it just took players out of this mentality where they're like, I'm a basketball player, and it's just like the greatest thing ever, and they're still able to have fun. And he's just like, no, you've got a job to do now, and this is your role, and this is when you need to do it, when you show up, and you need to hit that shot at that time. Yeah. And the what he did with everybody around him, just like completely different.
Great documentary. A real shame what happened to his father as well, wasn't it? And how he survived that. He still went on to perform after that. But yeah, it was good. So you're saying MJ?
Oh, easily. And even from a branding sponsorship point of view, what he did for Nike.
Yeah, but he didn't want Nike, did he? At the beginning, he wanted Adidas.
He wanted Adidas, yeah. And he was holding out from a Nike paid was like the most lucrative sports deal ever. And he wasn't even a professional athlete. He was just coming out of college. And they like banked on him so much. Like, that was such a gamble
Yeah, but he turned that style iconic for them, didn't he? Absolutely, legendary branding. And,
just linking that to a much lower level, Hull community, as opposed to LA and Chicago and NBA. But I was working for 13, 14 years. I was working for 12 years, and I started winning awards in year 12 of the business. And all of a sudden, everyone knows who I am. But everybody knew who Bamboo was within a year. But Bamboo had been going since 2003, and we only started that sponsorship deal. So we went on the share in 2017, but we did a 2-year deal. But let's just say everybody knew who Bamboo were within a year. But we'd been going for 15 years to that point, and more people know Bamboo wear than they know who Haltech wear. If you was in the industry, you knew who Haltech wear. But everybody in Hull knows Bamboo. Because the brand's strong. So if you see the thing, if you see a banner, you see it, and you're like, oh, I see it. But then also because of the Hull FC deal. And that's marketing and that's business in it, to become a brand and to become known and to become aware. And look what Michael Jordan did for Nike Air Jordans. But he didn't even want to go to the meeting, did he? If you watch the documentary, he was convinced by his mother to go. And I've read Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. That's a really good book, The Journey of Nike. But I think the point is, that's what endorsements do. The right endorsements and the right sponsorship deals, they get you out there and everybody knows who you are. And you can leverage off them. And then hence the size of the deals like the Mayweathers and the Tiger Woods have got over the years, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, and I think as a business owner, you also, because you're absorbed in the business, you're absorbed in your own brand and your own story and your own message. You just kind of fall into this place where you think everyone has heard of your company and everyone knows who you are and what you do, and they just haven't needed to use you yet. But it's never true. There's always more people to reach. There's always people out there who haven't heard about you. And so like you say, you probably spent like 10, 15 years thinking, well, everyone knows about Bamboo because it's been around for so long and I know about it. But it's not until you sign that deal and you proper get onto that platform that you realize what being, they call it 3 mile famous or 5 mile famous, whatever your catchment is, where you need to be famous for your brand. That's obviously the deal that worked for Bamboo.
Who are you saying for the basketball question?
I haven't seen the documentary, and it's not my sport at all, so I can't disagree with MJ. I was like I say, I've missed the whole. I've never been tall enough to enjoy basketball.
Yeah.
Well, let's finish at the greatest of all time front person of a music act or band. Phil, do you see how I said front person? Keep it PC.
Front person, Freddie Mercury.
Oof. Alex.
The performance at Live Aid, Radio Gaga, my favourite song, which was actually written by the drummer, Freddie Mercury. That performance in isolation. So that's the sort of video that I'd like to put in Pandemonium and say, watch this before you leave the house. And you frame of mind, when you see how he gets that full crowd, when they brought Bohemian Rhapsody out, and me and Leon went to the IMAX in Bradford, we got a train, went and watched it because we wanted to be immersed by it. He was in the crowd at the IMAX watching Bohemian Rhapsody. That performance was the single best performance I've ever seen, and I like my music. So I'm going to agree with Phil on that. Freddie Mercury. Bowie, I'd like to have seen Bowie as well, but and Mick Ronson. But Freddie Mercury gets my vote.
Yes, same, without a shadow of a doubt. Just think, it almost seems like he's that's what a lead singer, a frontman is. If you go out, what is a frontman? Well, that's everything. It's multi-talented, can hold an audience, just everything about it. That's what a frontman is of a band. Yeah. You look at anybody else and they didn't have that about them, or they didn't have that, or they didn't have that you can just compare to him. And I thought, who was Remy? Was it Remy Malek who?
Yes.
Yeah, played him in the movie.
Yeah,
Remy Malek, and he said he watched the YouTube video of that concert, that performance over 1,000 times to get it right.
Well, when you watch the movie and then you learn he wasn't even well. Like when you watch, because they've not played together for about a year, and then he's not even well. He's effectively dying at that stage, and it's just like when you add all of that up and you see that performance, and it wipes him out. But I mean, as I said, there's many a time when I was going through 2015, and I'm thinking I've bitten off more than I can chew, and I need a bit of inspiration. You can get a lot of inspiration from his music and his lyrics and his performance, and get you in the zone. And it's all about state management. If you could get yourself in that right state to tackle a day, and that's what we're doing with these runs and a bit of boxing and a bit of music and a bit of a podcast, you come off it thinking, oh yeah, I'm full of beans now. And that's ultimately what it's about. And if we can help the community with the business lockdown, with Pandemonium, with these challenges, then we are saving our community. And then relationships form off the back of it, don't they? And you have 10-minute 3-hour phone calls on a Saturday morning, walking on the park.
On that note, there's no better way to summarise and finish the episode. Mate, before we finish, where can people find you, Alex?
The website is bamboo.co.uk.
That's Bamboo with a U. Is that Bamboo with a U?
Yeah, BAMBU.co.uk. That's the business. That's the scaffolding. At the moment, the focus is on these charity events and the fitness. So if you want to get involved in a charity event, you want to just get involved. 07929 566612. WhatsApp that number, and I'll add you to the group. We'll try and get it a bit more formal on the Pandemonium Facebook page. If we could add the details on this video for that, and then I'm going to tap into your wealth of knowledge to get that looking slick, and you can help me with my podcast. I need like guest co-hosts on, man, so I don't go off on a tangent. I need managing. I think James, you're quite good at that, and Phil gets it back in the zone. In fact, Phil, I need you to get me back on the zone now, please.
I like it.
A fishing rod bringing you back.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. Let's. I think it goes without saying we've got a lot that we can certainly throw your way in support and guidance. We're certainly well ahead on things, pulling 1 and 4 EMers for a chunk of time when COVID hit, just to pivot and get ourselves ahead with and become experts within this industry and how we work, which essentially is taking main forms of content and stripping them and putting them across various channels and in the right way to the right people. So yeah, let's sit down and do that with you, and let's record it, and then that's content resources to put out to other people to benefit from, because this is the reason why we do this. So that'll be great to do, Alex. Really good to do. And am I right in thinking that's been a beer in your hand on this episode? Have we had the first official beer guest?
John Smith's this.
Yeah, there we go.
And to think we're recording this at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Well, I've been up since 4, running around Hull, so it's effectively midday. Up at 8, it's midday.
And also, what is it? It's well in the afternoon now, so you're allowed. But it's great to have our first beer drinking guest on. It's just like, yeah, that's awesome to see. But thanks so much, Alex. Again, we have to cut it short when we could be speaking. Certainly, we know we can speak for 3 hours without even trying. So we'll look forward to having you back on, and we'll certainly look forward to recording some sessions with you as resources for our audience. So we'll look forward to working with you on that.
I just wanted to say that I've enjoyed some of the episodes. You've had some guests on that I've always been intrigued by. So Martin Lauer, I listened to his story. He's celebrating 15 years in business. And it was nice to hear what he's doing as an example. And I give him a little message there. I enjoyed your podcast. I think business people like to just hear the story. It's interesting. There's loads of interesting people out there. So what I would say is, well done to you guys for giving the platform, the resource for me to listen to. And then anyone that is considering getting on, it's been really enjoyable and real fun and real easy. And yeah, let's try and keep learning about each other.
Oh, thanks very much, Alex. Thanks for that.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. Thanks very much. Very much appreciated, and we'll speak soon.
Cheers, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Business Lockdown.
Please comment, like, share and subscribe to help build our global community.
We look forward to seeing you all soon.